Before we get into it, I have a question for you. Have you ever felt completely lost? Kind of like being in quicksand. Either you found yourself and you need some help, or you haven't found yourself yet. I got you. We're going to help you get your happy life through your goals. I am Jen, your goal coach and the host of the Lost and Found podcast. We're going to discuss foundational work all the way to that big, bold goal of yours and how to break it down to achieve it, and everything in between. Now let's create your happy life. Let's get into this episode. Welcome to episode 5 of the Lost and Found podcast with our guest, Andrea. We are going to be chatting with Andrea today about mental health awareness, her candle business, and why she started it, and so much more. So I'm going to kick it to Andrea to introduce herself, and we'll get started.
Okay, Jen, thank you so much for having me. I am so grateful that we met each other, and we met through, through social media. Completely amazing. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure knowing you. You're just amazing.
Oh, thank you. I am in the middle of editing. There are points of here where it got a little messed up with the sound, but I cut most of it out. But the part that I really wanted to come in here and talk about was when Andrea said that she's a mom, a wife, and she talks about her pets. And that's kind of where we leave off. And she owns her candle company called Out of the Darkness Candle Company. So I just wanted to pop on here. So getting back to it.
Full of pets, if I had the room.
Me too.
Mental health has always been something that's been really important to me and something that I've always been really interested in. And I never actually went that route. I had children and I wanted to stay home. And so I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. And then this business idea came about when I was caring for loved ones that suffered with their mental health. And it was something that I kind of felt like this is a situation where I realized myself that the act of candle making, burning the candles was extremely therapeutic, not only for myself, but also for my loved ones. And I kind of wanted to take this idea and put it out there to the world, not only to, obviously earn money for myself and for my family, but then also to raise money to give back to mental health organizations and just to raise awareness in general for mental health and to share that light and that hope with anybody else who is suffering or anybody else who was going through what I was going through, which was caring for somebody like that, because that takes a toll on your own mental health. So it was all these things combined. And as I was, taking this journey and, caring for my loved one and trying to do all these other things, getting help and all this stuff, I just, I realized that as far as we have come, we still have so much further to go. And, it was really difficult. It was difficult finding somebody to get help from. It was finding, it was just, I realized that the stigma is still really there when I spoke to certain people. So it was just really kind of like a light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, okay, like we need to do something. I just felt that the candles, because they were such an impact on my life and my loved one's life, like this is it. Like let's just bring the light to the world and see where it takes us.
I love that. Bring the light to the world. That's amazing. When you say like there's still a stigma around it, I feel like we talk about it so much more, which is a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just funny how we're doing this right now, because I just read a post 2 days ago from I think her name is Ashley Holmes, but she is, the Real Housewives of New Jersey, Jacqueline Larita. So that's her daughter. So she posted something on social media, and it was just a very powerful post about how she deals with mental health and she's never really talked about it. And her take on it being, out in the world and like people do talk about it. It's like people talk about it after they're on the other side or, feeling in a different light. And it's like more about the past, but not talking about it when people go through it and the tools that people need and how to handle it in a certain way. So it was a very interesting post, because we do think we're at a time, I think, where we do talk about a lot of things, but I think we talk about them just to talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
And, actions do speak louder than words. So if somebody really is out there and wants to help, what would you recommend to help? What charities should people look into? What are good resources for people that are either dealing with mental health issues or, need to care for somebody with mental health issues?
I mean, yeah, I completely agree with everything that you just said. And I had mentioned one time that I think a lot of the stigma comes from from ignorance, really, people just not knowing maybe like the actual facts surrounding it. We could say, mental health, or we could say anxiety, or we could say whatever, but like you don't actually know what those things really, really mean to somebody. It's really difficult to completely understand it. So I think the resources, I found tons of resources online. I mean, Google, when I was going through this, was literally my best friend. And personally, I took bits and pieces from different spots. There is NAMI. They're a great organization, and they have a lot of free resources on their website. Mental Health America, they're another one. There's tons and tons of resources, but I know that that could be overwhelming, especially if you yourself are the one going through it. My advice would be to just try to find somebody to talk to, try to find a therapist, try to find a professional. And if you can't do that, because I know that that is also very difficult, because I have been there as well, contact a family member, or a close
Yeah.
friend that you feel that you can trust, and have them help you along the way. Because like I said, when I was helping, I literally said to myself, if I wasn't here, if I wasn't doing this, it was stressing me out, and it was making me like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine being the person who is feeling depressed, or is feeling super anxious, or is just going through something, some sort of a life event, and then also having to deal with all these things. I think that it's some place that we need to get to in our country, or in our city, or wherever we are, is making this a lot more available. And, like you said, we talk about it a lot. We are talking about it a lot, but then it also seems like, okay, well, we're just talking. Like you mentioned as well, like talking's great, but where's the action? I've said multiple times in my Instagram and whatever, if anybody ever needs just even a listening ear, I'm here. And I know that there are so many other people out there as well. And just reach out, just try and I know that's hard in itself as well. And I'm not trying to, make it sound like, oh, it's so easy and just do this or just do this. I completely get it. But I think the first step is just finding somebody and just saying, listen, this is what I'm going through. Help.
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to
Right.
ask for help. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to just go back to your point about talking to a therapist, and I just wanted to bring an experience that I had. I did battle depression going through my separation and divorce. I have a strong feeling, and maybe people don't agree with this, that I do feel like we all will battle some sort of depression or anxiety in the course of our life, no matter if we've ever battled with mental health before or not. That's just something I really do think does happen. But I realized that I needed to talk to somebody. Because of the situation and family and in my marriage, I really couldn't talk to family, because I felt like they were just going to hate the other person and not really just kind of understand what I was going through. So I did try therapy. The first therapist I went to was good for the time, but then I kind of outgrew him. And then I didn't realize I outgrew him, and I just was like, he's not helping me anymore, and like turned away from it, and realized I still definitely needed help. It's okay to bounce around and find the person that is good
Absolutely.
for you. And I think that people don't realize that, because I didn't. And I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, this doesn't work. I can't do therapy. I can't do that. And then I was just really super down on myself. Like nothing works, and I feel worse. You have to find the person that clicks with you, and it's okay to shop around for a therapist. That is totally
Absolutely.
okay.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I can't tell you how many therapists, we've gone through, and you are absolutely right. I mean, it's something where it's okay. It's okay. It's not you. It's not them. It's just not a click.
It's not you have to can't feel bad. Like you have
Right.
to feel this
Mm-hmm.
is about you and getting yourself to where you need to be, and you really need to do what's right for you. It's not that it didn't work, or you just got to find the right fit. It's like anything else. Like you ever have a job that you walk into? I mean, I've had one where I just like walk into, I'm like, this is not a right fit. That's not so easy to walk away from, but
Right.
some things are just not the right fit. That's okay.
Absolutely. I agree completely.
I wanted to ask you a question about your own, self-care journey,
Mm-hmm.
self-love journey. When you are, helping other people, whether it's family members, this doesn't have to be, it could be anything. It could be a family member that is sick, and you're pouring yourself into the other person, or pouring yourself into the situation. which is so commendable and so amazing, because you would think everybody would do that for family, but that just doesn't happen. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But you do have to fill your own bucket. What can you recommend for people that are, really helping other people get through a difficult time or an illness or anything? And how do you make time for yourself and making sure that you are doing the best you can for yourself so that you could be there for the other people?
This is something that I had to really work on, to be honest. I never really put in any self-care or any self-love for myself. And that was just since I had kids. Like when I had my children, everything was them. Without even realizing it, it wasn't anything like, but I think also as just human beings and as women in general, we tend to do that. We tend to want to, fix everything and take care of everybody. And we just have this nurturing, we're just these nurturing beings. So this was something that I really, really had to focus on, and I'm still focusing on, to be honest. And it came about when I was caring for my loved one, because at that point I really started to realize, wait a second, like, you're not taking care of yourself. You're having a harder time taking care of this person now because you're not, filling your bucket. So what I started to do was honestly really little things at first, because it was uncomfortable for me. I wasn't comfortable taking that time to say, well, no, this is for me so I could better you. So I just basically started it like I'd wake up maybe 15 minutes earlier and I'd sit quietly with my coffee, maybe read a chapter of a book, sometimes do a little bit of journaling, just what I'm grateful for that morning. And that's how I started it. I started very, very small. And now I do a lot more. But like I said, it's still a struggle, and I still
Yeah.
push myself to do it. But now I do a lot for me to better myself. I invest a lot in myself right now. I take classes for my business. I created this entire space in my basement. This is my space.
I love
And
it.
I think that's really important as well. If you are caring for somebody, or if you're just, anybody, I think anybody
Yeah.
needs a little space where they could go, where they just feel like calm. And this is for me. And this is, I could sit here and I could breathe. And I think that's a really important thing as well. Even if it's like a little section in your bedroom, just make it something just for you and just someplace where you could go. But that's been my self-love journey. And like I said, I'm still working on it. And
Oh, it is like a constant. I feel like everybody that should be working on it every single day.
yes.
It's so important for everything else. I mean, we've talked before about my goal coaching program, and the 90-day transformation is about 10 life pillars. And one of those life pillars is self-love. And the reason why it's a huge pillar is because if you don't have that and your self-care and self-love and you don't have to have it intact, and nothing has to be intact.
Mm-hmm.
We are always going to be a work in progress. If there is not progression, we're not living. Like that, you have to constantly be, evolving, working on yourself, bettering yourself. That is truly how you have a happy life, in my opinion. So you have to, fill that bucket so that you can do all the other things, all the other buckets, all the other life pillars. And it's super important. I just posted a podcast last night on, it's part one of part two, but it was ways to unblock yourself. And the first one was about having a place for yourself. So I think that it's so amazing that you said that, because it's true. For me, it's this room, this office.
Right.
It's just important to go somewhere for you, light a candle, light Andrea's candles. People are listening. They're like, I don't have an extra room, or I live with roommates, or I live in a small apartment. Get a snack tray, light a candle, make the ambiance, do what you have to do to just have like a little place where you could sit, where you could feel like, I feel good. And just for a minute, and journal, you can meditate, do any of those things so that you could I like to do it in the morning personally, just like to kick my day off right. Every morning, take my coffee, I go outside with the dogs, and that's kind of like my time. I try really hard not to scroll on Instagram, but like that's my time to just, I don't know. I love like listening to the birds and like, all that kind of stuff, but little
Absolutely.
things.
Yes, little things. And, it also comes back to, like you said about a therapist, like you have to keep trying. Sometimes you have to keep trying. Sometimes, like you'll see on Instagram or on wherever, oh, this is what you should be doing. You should be meditating, journaling, blah, 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 blah. And it's like a checklist. Sometimes I cannot meditate. I don't like it. My body doesn't like it. So what I've done instead is, like you were saying, when you go outside, I go for walks, and sometimes I have my headphones in, but sometimes I don't. And sometimes I just
We
kind
are
of
like
listen.
on such a wavelength. It's like, and I know we talked about how we've never met. We live really close, first of all. Let's talk about how we live really close. Andrew lives in Brooklyn. I live in Staten Island. We live super close. We met literally on social media over reels and DMs and whatever. And I just feel like I know you for such a long time. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But I was talking about this last night in this podcast episode because I was talking about my cousin Renee. I went to Florida, and she is like a master Reiki. She does all this energy work. She's amazing. But I did a whole VIP day with her, and it was from like 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we started off the day, which she's like, I want you to meditate. And I was like, girl, I try really hard. And I'll do like a guided, I could do guided, like I'll do a 5-minute morning guided. I don't do it every day. I'm not great at it. But she was like, why are you overcomplicating this? Just go for a walk. Just don't don't listen to music.
Right.
Focus on your breath. Just do that for like 5-10 minutes, whatever. I'm like, wait, that's meditating? She's like, yeah. I was like, oh, I thought I just needed to sit and that's what I thought I needed to do.
And I think like we hear things and we see things, and you're like, oh, if I'm not doing it like that exactly or whatever, then I can't. But that's not it. You have to make it your own, and that's with anything that we're doing. Any journey that you're on, I think it's great to have like a guideline, but then from there, you need to do what feels right for your body, especially with something like we're talking about mental health, and we're talking about these things, and you're like, this is supposed to be making me feel better, and I'm just feeling worse.
Yeah, because you think you have to stick to like a thing, or like this guru says I should do this, and so I need to do this or I'm not going to be happy. But I absolutely love that you say you have to make it your own. You have to make it is your life, your thing. You're not being judged on how well you meditate or be judged on all these things that you're doing for you. It's just you.
Right.
We judge ourselves. That's the biggest issue, is that we are our own worst enemy 90% of the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I had somebody ask me recently, what was the biggest obstacle, or what is the biggest obstacle in your business, being a small business owner? And I was like, hands down, it's me. It's me. I'm my biggest obstacle. There's all these things that go into being your biggest, like you said, I judge myself, or imposter syndrome, or, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Now I'm a businesswoman. Like, who's going to listen to me? Who's going to, and all these things get inside your head and slows you down and kind of like, sets you back. And it's something that I'm working on.
Yeah, I will say though, like even just in my business too, it's like you really do put yourself out there. I could not do this 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like, I could not do this. Kind of give zero fucks now.
Yeah, no, I'm with
like
you.
Like 45, I give zero fucks. Like that's kind of how I feel now. I used to care so much what people thought of me. What are they going to think? Who does she think she is? Da, da, da. Like all this stuff. And now I'm like, it's my life, not yours.
That's it. Absolutely. And I'm definitely at that point, where I'm just like, okay, like put myself out there. And then, I also think that you as well, we're coming from like we genuinely want to help people. And, if you don't like it, if you're going to judge me, you go away. We're trying to do something that's positive, and we're trying to help, and we're trying to do this, this, and this. So you don't want to be on board. You don't have to be on board, but this is where we're going. And
yes,
and
there's an amazing button. It's called unfollow.
Right.
It's all good. It took me a long time to realize that not everybody is for you. Like it took me, like I was like, I even had it happen last week. I mean, I talk a big game, but I had it happen to me last week. I'm trying to build my Facebook group, and we kind of talked about this a little offline, but I'm trying to build my Facebook group to have like a community where other women can go to help. And it's just, like trying to like every month maybe do a little something, an accountability challenge or like a training or something completely free of I just want to network with a bunch of women and help women. And I was reaching out to people. I got into a couple of Facebook groups and just like chatting with people. I'm like, I should network a little bit more and, and like build my reach. And there was this group called Women Helping Women. I was like, oh, this is perfect. Chatting, all great, like commenting on people's posts. And I had reached out to this woman. Read her, her profile. She like wrote a book on Amazon, like, and had it self-published on Amazon. I was like impressed. So I, messaged her. Really just I was like, I wanted to just meet her and like chat with her. Nothing.
Mhm.
I wasn't selling anything. This was not about selling a thing. Oh, she was so rude back to me.
Really?
Yeah, like, why are you reaching out to me? Like, just like, I was like, oh, okay, fine. But then I got like 10 other amazing responses.
Right.
And I was just like, okay, it's gonna happen. You're not for everybody. But I was like super,
Right.
first I was pissed, and then I was like, what's wrong with me? I went to that. Oh, it's fine. I was like talking to Richie, and he's like, you don't even know her. Who cares? I was like,
Right.
you're right. I don't. He's like, I thought we gave 0 fucks. He said, because I tell him this all the time. He's like, I thought we gave 0 fucks. I'm like, okay, you're right. We do.
You're right. You're right.
Moving on.
You get all this amazing feedback. One person or one.
I know, and
kind of like, ooh,
it shuts you
like
down.
Thrown off course. It shuts you down.
It does. It shuts you down, and you do have to. That's why you need the tools. You need like the tools in your toolbox.
Absolutely.
To be like, how do I deal with negative people? How do I deal with all these things? It's just all the tools that you need so that you can always go back into them, because it's life. Like, you're going to experience hard times. You're going to experience difficult people. You're going to experience a bunch of things. I mean, I had the worst day at work yesterday, and
I'm sorry.
I wanted to cry, and I'm like, we're not doing that here. That's not happening here. But I was like, I have a toolbox. I looked at my calendar. I was like, okay, I was in the office. I was like, I have no meetings. And I got up, I texted my boss, and I was like, I'm just running out for 20 minutes. And I went for a 20-minute walk, and I felt so good after. And I was like, this is stupid. It's not a big deal. This is not life altering or life changing at all. This person's just not great. And that's it. Over. And the walk did help. It's like you got to go into the toolbox, and we're overwhelmed sometimes or spin out, and we don't realize like, okay, I got the tools. I could do this.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And walking, that's like one of my, that's a go-to for me. I did it yesterday myself. I don't know maybe yesterday was like some,
not a good
I don't
day.
know. Was it a full moon? I'm not sure. But yesterday my day was, oof, it was just horrid. But that's what I did as well. I said, you know what? I said, I threw my sneakers on, and I was like, I just have to go. And like, I just walked, and I did. I felt so much better as well. So you're right. We just have to click those things back in and be like, okay.
Yeah. And that's why I came up with, I have a free ebook that just lists all the different ways for flipping the script, turning the negative into a positive, removing the blocks, because I tried so many things when I was going through such a hard time. And one day something worked, another day that same thing didn't work, and then another day this worked. So it's like, don't be discouraged if something that you always do maybe doesn't work. Just go to the next thing. Different things work at different times.
Absolutely.
Depending on our mood.
Yeah, I love that. I really love that. And I completely agree that, like you said, you have to, that's why you have to build that toolbox and, build all these skills and work on them. I think it's a daily thing, too, like you have to consistently do. And then it becomes second nature at that point. You're like, okay, yeah. But I love that. You're absolutely right. Like, not every day is going to be, oh, I'll just do this because that's what was working.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, we're not like, yes, we want to live these positive, happy lives, but it's life, and like shit happens, and you just want to, if you don't learn these tools, or if you don't learn the things that can help flip the script, then that bad day can roll into the next bad day, that can roll into the next one. It's like, that's why it's so important. Some of these things sound so like little and dumb, like, like one of the things on my list, and this sounds crazy, is to make your bed in the morning. And the only reason why is it's the first thing that you do in the day, and it's a sense of accomplishment. That is the only reason. That's like there's a whole book on it. I think it's called Make Your Bed, I think.
Yeah.
But like, that's like the first like sense of accomplishment in the day,
Right.
and it just makes you feel good. Like that's the reason. Maybe if it's not making your bed, what is that one thing you could do like in the first like 20 minutes of waking up that will make you feel, accomplished or really good, and then that's what you could take with you. It's just like setting the day right. It's really important to set the day right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I recently heard that people who make their bed every single morning are the most successful people out there. So
Really?
you're on
I
your
got to
way.
get my dogs out of my bed. My
You gotta
bed's not made, they're laying in it. I don't want to be redundant because this episode will air next week after this episode, but I talked about the making your bed, and I was like, in high school, my mom was a big bed, like you have to make your bed in the morning, and
same.
it
Hmm.
wasn't for accomplishment. It was like things need
Yeah.
to be clean and tidy and make your bed. I think I did it for like 2 months. I slept on top of my made bed. I mean, I was 16. And my mom was like so proud of me. She's like, she's making her bed. And then I overslept, and she came up. She's like, you're sleeping on your made bed. She was no longer proud. And she still talks about it to this day.
Way to get around it. You were like,
I was resourceful from day one.
Look, that's it. That's it. Resourceful.
So funny. But that's another, being resourceful is very, very important too. We talk about this all the time, even at work. It's like, okay, if you can't find this file, like, what are you going to do? Just sit in front of your computer? Like, how are you going to do it? You have to be resourceful.
Right. Absolutely.
A little interruption from this episode. I wanted to share 2 things with you. One is I just created a Facebook group called the Happy Life Goal Getters. This group, I'm going to do free training and build our community where we can learn and grow from each other, and I can help you achieve your happy life through your goals. I'm so excited to do this. I cannot wait to see you in there. Below in the show notes, I'm going to have the link for the Facebook group, but you can also search Happy Life Goal Getters in the group section of Facebook, and it should pop up there. And the second thing is my 90-day transformation program. I am accepting 5 new clients for the summer and into the early fall. This 90-day transformation program is absolutely amazing. It includes one-on-one weekly training via Zoom, daily or weekly texts, depending on your needs for accountability. I then create a vision board based on your goals, aspirations, and dreams, and that is the cover of your personalized 3-month planner. I cannot wait to meet with you and learn all about your goals and how I can help you achieve your happy life. Let's get back into the episode. Tell me a little bit more about your candles and how you make them, and the ingredients, but just like all those things. So I am a candle lover. I have your diffuser right there. I love it. I have your meditation candle in the other room. They smell amazing, but not overpowering. So I really enjoy them. And tell us a little bit about that.
Getting older, when I started reading about some of the chemicals and stuff that are in the big box candle stores, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know, and I started researching, healthier options. And then I was like, oh, like there's like a DIY kit, and I decided, oh, like, let me try it. So that's basically how it started, just as like a hobby, just as me trying to like find a healthier option to bring into my home without completely, getting, and I'm not like one of those people who are like, oh, because we live in New York where there's junk everywhere, but little things that you can do, I do try to do. So I just started making them just as a healthier option, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then, it started out just as like, basic stuff. And but the ingredients are, it's soy wax, it's all natural. And then the fragrance oils that I put in, they are synthetic mixed with essential oils, but they're all natural as well. So there's really no chemicals. There's nothing in anything. The wicks that I use are all cotton. There's no lead. There's like all these little things that like I never knew really, because you were just like, oh, it's a candle, but then, or like, oh, it's a soy candle. Yeah, but then the wick has lead in it. Or like, so like there's all like these like little parts to it that you're like, okay, well, why bother using soy wax if then you're going to use a wick that's, going to burn and emit junk into your air. So there's like all these like little things that go into it. But what I started doing, after I started practicing and just kind of like testing it out and just really like a hobby and something for me to do for my own mental health, I started then experimenting with mixing fragrances on my own. So I'll purchase the fragrances, and then I usually gather my family, and we'll like test out different mixtures, and that's basically where we are at now. And because I wanted to
That's
make
so
it when I
cool. I love
yeah, like
that.
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, a lot of fails, but it was something that like when I started the business and when I really really wanted to create this business to speak to people and like to touch people's lives, I said like I didn't want to just create something or just put something out there that you could get anywhere. So what we started doing was mixing different fragrance oils together to create these kind of like unique scents. And what we felt signified, like you said, like you have the meditate candle,
Yes, I
and
love it.
it's very earthy, very like and that's kind of like what we felt would be a meditate state. So unwind is a lavender and mixed with a couple other things, and that's basically like where I'm at right now, that I love to try to just create these scents to evoke these feelings of relaxation,
Yes.
meditation, or focus, or all these things. So
My favorite thing to do with a candle, you're going to laugh at me, but and Richie knows when a candle is lit in a room, I mean business. So I'll clean a room. Like if I clean the bathroom, I clean the bedroom, and I light a candle, that means don't mess this room up. We are like, like this room has been scrubbed, cleaned, organized. The floors are washed. Everything's done. A candle is lit.
I'm in here, keep it clean.
He'll come home from work and go in the kitchen and be like, "Why is there a candle lit? What? I take your shoes off. Take the shoes off." I mean, he usually goes, "Oh." We have a shoe battle pretty much every single day. I don't want shoes in the house. He doesn't like being shoeless. It's a whole battle. That is so amazing. When did you start Out of the Darkness? When did you start it?
Seriously, until a couple of years ago. So it was like, I started it, I had this idea, and I was still super really unsure of myself, of the whole thing. And, it didn't look like it looked now either. It was kind of like, okay, well, let's start here. And I really wasn't thrilled. And it was like, okay, I put it out there a little bit, pulled back and forth. But then a couple of years ago, I was just like, no, like I have a good product.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it. And everything's an evolution. I do really believe in working on yourself, especially in your business. I believe in
Mm-hmm.
coaching. Obviously, I'm a goal coach, but I do have a business coach, and she's always like, just start it messy. Who cares? Just start it.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's like, just have a messy start. It's this place, it's a jumping off point. You're going to learn and just grow. And it's so true. I'm a perfectionist. I want like things to look a
Yeah.
certain
Same.
way. I want them, but you got to get out there, because it's like you could sit at home making something perfect, and it's like you're just at home making something perfect. Like you're not
Absolutely.
out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally relate to that. Like that was like a big thing for me. I was like, oh, and like I did it. I started it. My other problem was money. I didn't have like a big investment into this. I started maybe with like, I don't know, maybe like $500, I want to say, of like our savings. Like I dipped into that, and I was like, okay, well, like this is all I'm willing to put in here right now. And I kind of had to build off of that. And my original look and everything wasn't what I wanted it to be, but I couldn't afford to
Yeah.
even do what I wanted to do. And I figured, okay, well, like I can't sit around and wait for that. It'll never happen. I have to earn that. Like I started, with these really cheap vessels and all the things. And like as it kind of like gained a little bit of momentum and gained whatever, any money that I did get obviously goes right back in. And then I'm where I'm at today with, I love the look of my vessels. I love everything about it. And there's still things that I would love to, do. But again, that's something that I have to work for, and I have to earn the money and put back in and get to where I want to be. And that's a little bit of my motivation as well, to be like, okay, I'd really, really love to do this. Okay, I got to make that happen. And I gotta,
Yeah.
like I gotta just go for it.
It's just all phases. It's phases and
Mm-hmm.
it's building, and it's amazing. It's so commendable, and just like you have an amazing product. I love it. The packaging, I'm a sucker for
Thank
packaging,
you.
and your packaging is amazing. I'm
Thank
going
you.
to put below a reel that I did when I unboxed your candles. So I will definitely put that there so people could check it out. But it's
you.
just a great product.
Thank you. I want to bring this feeling of comfort, of joy, of all these things. So like when you get a package, you don't want to just like open it up and have like, wrapped in brown paper or whatever. Like I wanted it to feel a little bit special. And so thank you for saying that.
Oh, you're very welcome. It goes a long way. It does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really does. That's amazing. So my signature question that I ask everybody that comes on this podcast, being that it's called the Lost and Found podcast, if you can touch upon a time in your life where you did feel lost and then how you found yourself or, how you worked towards getting yourself back.
Okay. Well, I love this question. And I've heard you ask it because I listen to your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Every time it comes out. I'm on it. I go for my walk. I stick in my headphones, and I'm with you. So I knew this was coming.
That could make me cry. You have no idea.
Like the biggest one and the most recent one was the catalyst for this business.
Hold
and everything.
On one second. Can you hear my dog? Mm-hmm. Can you hear him? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I have 2 dogs. Trust me. When my older dog starts barking, then the puppy will be like, ah! Like he'll start too, and I'm like, why are you getting about? Mind your business. This has nothing to even do with you. Like you're getting excited because he's getting excited. You don't even know what's going on. He's like looking around. I'm like, you don't even know.
I call Griffin my divorce dog. I got him while I was separated. Gracie, Richie gave me as a Christmas gift 2 years ago. Yeah. I was literally in a meeting and he like plopped a puppy in my lap. I was like, oh my God. And everybody was like, oh my God. Like, I gotta go. And I'm a preparer. So like I wanted to prepare for, like how's Griffin going to react with another dog and do some research. And nope, that didn't. So life happened, just like plopped in. But yeah, she's just, everybody calls her one step above a stuffed animal. She's just like, do. She's a cutie patootie. I mean, he's Griffin. He's just like, Richie says he should have been called Dennis for Dennis the Menace. He's just into everything. He's a good boy, but he's Griffin.
How old are they?
Griffin is 7 and Gracie, she's 2.5. Before we go back, you have, how many animals do you have?
2 dogs and a cat. And I've brought bunnies. My husband, he's like, why do you do these things? I brought bunnies in, like just spur of the moment. I'm like, oh, look at this bunny. Like I need to not be on. He's like, you need to block any animal thing social media. Like just stop looking at that.
I have tons of animals that come on my social media. So I kind of want chickens.
Me too.
I need to move. I need to live somewhere down south or something, but I want chickens.
Yeah.
I have in my Amazon cart right now a chicken coop.
Listen,
Richie's into it, so I'm like getting him there.
I'm coming over. I am driving over the damn bridge, and I'll be there to play with your chickens.
Crazy, but yeah, I want chickens.
I know, me too. I've been like looking at them, like a little run. Like I've just like, I'm like, we could just like around the border of our thing. He's like,
let's do it. Let's go buy some chickens. So Richie's been into it. So he's like, he researches everything. He's like, I looked up the law. I was like, there's a law about chickens? He's like, yeah, we can have 4. I was like, oh, all right, okay. New York City, you can have 4.
4 chickens.
Can't have a rooster. It's okay. I don't want anything cockadoodle doing. It's fine.
Now you're going to get baby chicks and then like raise them? Little baby chicks.
Stay tuned. I need to tell you that my yard, it's a postage stamp. My yard is so small. Oh, God, we digress.
Yes, like really far.
We went way off.
Okay. Where were we? No.
Signature question, a time in your life where you felt lost and then found yourself.
Okay, so I would say the most recent time that I felt lost was what really catapulted this business is when I was caring for my loved ones when they were suffering with their mental health. And I say that because, a lot of people might be like, well, you weren't going through it. But as I was caring for them, I just found myself in a dark place. And it was just getting worse and worse because it was this thing where, you're watching somebody that you love so much just suffer. And I say suffer. And I know a lot of people don't like that. They say live with. But, this person was suffering. And it was extremely, extremely hard for me to watch and for me to do day in and day out. And, it consumed everything. My thoughts, I couldn't sleep, just noticed my own mental health just taking a nosedive. And it was between caring for this person, also trying to do everything else that I still had to do on top of it. And then also not being able to help. in a way that I thought that I should have been able to help. There's no like, when somebody's sick and they have the flu or whatever, you give them some Tylenol, you bring their fever down, you could do all those things.
Yeah.
This wasn't like that. And it was like everything that I was racking my brain, and it was exhausting trying to figure out, okay, well, what if I did this, or what if we tried this, or what if we did, and it was like a constant spinning in my head, and I couldn't stop it. And it just really, really took a mental toll on me. I mean, it was just like this, between like caring for them and doing all the other things that I had to do, plus all the thinking that was going on. It was a mental and a physical exhaustion. And I just came to the point where I was like, stop. Like, you need to just stop, take a deep breath, and we need to regroup here, because the further down I got, the less I was able to do for my family.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, this isn't working. We need to. And that's when I decided, what, because I need another cause in my life. I said, what, or another job or another something. I was like, no, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go full steam ahead, and we are going to, take this little business that I was kind of in and kind of out, and this is what we're going to make it. And we're going to do that for 1,000 different reasons. And I mean, it gave me an outlet, definitely, to take everything that was inside and push it out and be like, okay, like all these thoughts that I had and everything that was going on in my home, to be like, okay, listen, this is what's going on. Does anybody else have this? Or, and I made such wonderful connection from that. And I think that really helped me get out of where I was. It was like that happened to me, or I went through something similar. And, I was never on social media before this. And it's really, really helped me through this kind of, find myself a little bit more. It gave me this voice that I never really used before.
Yeah.
I'm growing up, I was extremely shy. You probably won't believe this, but I'm very introverted.
You wouldn't believe this either, but so am I. So I'm a different person at work. I'm not that way at work. I kind of treat this like work, but we laugh in my family because my mom is very super outgoing. She's involved in so much. She always was growing up. My brother, who's going to be a guest on this podcast someday soon, but my brother is extremely involved in the PTA. He is a parent advocate. He's super, super involved. He's on the school board as well. He talks to a million different people. He's like, my dad and I always say, I'm Marie's daughter and Jimmy's sister. My dad is Marie's husband and Jimmy's dad. We're just like, the other ones.
Basically like how I grew up. Like, my mom will talk to everybody and anybody. I have 2 older brothers, and one of them is just like, I mean, he's out there, and he's like, like any room, he'll just gather it and command it. And I'm always, if I had a superpower, it would be invisibility, and I would like, don't, just don't. I couldn't be. And I couldn't also, like, I felt like, here it is, I'm giving advice to this person who's suffering so bad. Meanwhile, now I'm just sitting here and like doing nothing. So it's like, you have to take the action that you're preaching. You need to say like, okay, well, you need some help, and go out and get help, and, whatever that means for you. And I know that we talked about it a little bit earlier, about different ways and different things and therapists and stuff like that. But I'm actually a firm believer in find your therapy. You could find your therapy. It doesn't have to be talk therapy. It doesn't have to be, there's so many different things that you could do for yourself to find yourself, to come out of that, to come out of wherever you are, and whatever feels good for you. I think it's always, like we also spoke about a little bit earlier, it's always evolving. We're always kind of finding ourselves, and we're always kind of like, tweaking it a little bit. And for me, just being open, just being honest, we have formed this amazing community, and we lean on each other when we need to. It's just been a game changer.
It's amazing what can come out of other things. It's just, it's very touching, and just kind of, I know I keep saying amazing, but it really is. But you made me think of 2 things that I want to add to my list of like unblocking yourself. It's like a creative outlet, and then networking. And it's just networking within your community, or creating a community, I think, is something that you did. You created a community. I mean, that is so commendable and so amazing that you took something and you just spun it a little to help other people. And maybe you're still going through whatever, but you can help the person that's maybe 2 years where you were, and like help that person and almost collapse time for them and help them to really learn how to deal with everything. And I just feel like it's so commendable, and you should be so incredibly proud of yourself and building a community. And what you've done is really just, you're an amazing woman. And I'm so honored to get to know you in this way. And we need to meet in person over chickens, or I don't even know what, but I mean, just, yeah, you're good people. You are good people.
I really appreciate that. You make me tear up a little bit here. No, thank you. I do. I honestly, I really appreciate that. And the thing that keeps me like on the path, because obviously there are times that I'm just like yesterday, like I said, it was a horrible day, and I just kind of wanted to go into myself and just be like, I can't do this. But what keeps me on the path and growing and all the things is that community. And then it's also my why, like why I started it, because, you know, I want to show my loved ones, and I want to show everybody that, yeah, you could have stuff going on. We all have mental health. All of us, you know, it doesn't escape anybody.
Yeah.
But there are ways out, and you can do it. It's hard work. I'm not saying it's not, but I think just keeping that in my head and saying, like, you know, you need to push forward, and you need to show everybody who you care about and everybody who's out there that we could do this and we could do it together, and you're not alone.
I love it. This is so good. This is like, I've never laughed so much.
I know.
And I definitely need to put in a little bit of our chicken talk for sure. Thank you so much for coming on and being a guest. This was such great conversation, and I really hope we bring some awareness to your cause. And we will put everything in the show notes for anybody to reach out to you if they are struggling. And go check out Andrea's candles. They are absolutely amazing. You have amazing content on your Instagram as well. So
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everything. I had a great time. This was a lot of fun, and thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please reach out. My Instagram and email are below in the show notes. I would love to hear from you, what you would want to hear more of, or if just you simply need some help and want to ask some questions, I would love to tackle them for you. Remember to celebrate the small wins. Little things equal big impact. Lead with gratitude, and remember to give yourself grace. Have an amazing week.